Well, good morning, everybody. Wes McDonald here. Happy Wednesday. I'm here with my good buddy, Kenneth Edmonds. How are you, Ken?
I am fine, and hello to the group out there. It is good to see you all. I am still in the same place I've been for several weeks, which is an absolute rarity.
It is.
I am here.
Well, welcome. And I'm actually where I should be, actually, too. But unlike you, I'm not always on a cruise. I did get out this morning, however, on a bicycle ride along the shores of Lake Erie, and I have found some prime fishing areas. So I know what I'll be doing after work, possibly today.
Oh, you can't quit work early. You know, when you work for yourself and you work from home, it is a 24/7 thing. No fun. That's wrong.
Well, at some point this evening, I will be getting my kayak and get on the water. And we've actually got a special guest today, which we'll be bringing in a little bit, who I know is also a fellow kayak enthusiast, but more importantly, is going to be taking us through, as you can see below, 22.1. And just to set this up a little bit, for those that know me well, they know that I've worked with Tigerpaw long before I actually worked for Tigerpaw. I was a partner of theirs back in the day when I was at Print Audit with John McInnes, and just an amazing group of people. Love how they work with their partners, how they work with their customers, how they work with their staff. And I'm super excited because today kind of raises a culmination of really just about 2 years of development effort. And I'm not going to really say much more than that because I'm going to let our guest sort of talk about what that means. But before we go any further, make sure that you do leave your questions and comments. As you see below, we want you to join the conversation. This is a live stream and it's more lively when you're engaged. So if you're watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, just use the comment section that you'd typically be used to using. The other thing is, as Ken always likes to know, we always try and get the conversation started with where you're viewing from. So please let us know where you are from. And Ken, looks like...
and part of that is because sometimes we need to figure out where I am. Sometimes I need help in doing that. And then also, we're a global business, a global organization, so we love to see our guests and where they come from and the audience where you're from. So please put it in the comments for us.
Absolutely. And make sure for those that are on Facebook, for some reason, it doesn't show who you are. It's one of those weird privacy things. So let us know who you are and where you're from. For whoever it was that said good morning, all, and good morning to you, too. So thanks for tuning in. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our special guest. Let's see if I can do this. What's going on, Trevor Moses?
Hello, West, and I appreciate the term special guest. I don't know how special I am, but appreciate the kind words. Nice to see you, Ken.
Hey, you're like me. You're a fellow Canadian, so that makes you special right from the get-go.
There you go. Thank you. And
okay, that makes you special in a different sense.
No, that's me, Ken. That's me.
There you go.
Greg Walters, good to see you, buddy.
During your preamble, West, I'm excited for you to get the kayak out. So my girlfriend and I actually spent 3 hours out in the Grand River last weekend in the nice weather. So it's the season is upon us.
Yeah, I like the Grand River. I did a camping trip on the Grand River for 3 days with my brother-in-law, my son, and his boy, and
Nice.
Just a beautiful, bit of river, right? And some good pike fishing. I actually caught the first muskie I ever caught was on the Grand River. So
There you go.
great spot. And hey, John, welcome. Good morning. Thanks for coming in. Mr. Bendix, good to see you, buddy. And I look forward to catching up with you as well. It's been too long. And looks like, oh, great. Well, good to see you all the way from Bangladesh, MD. So welcome to the conversation today. And Mr. Greg Walters, there you go. Mr. Multi-Platform. We always see you on LinkedIn. I know last time we spoke, you said you're testing the algorithm, seeing which one presents better. Nathan Gerber. Good morning, Nathan. Nice to see you, my friend. Oh, and Bart. Oh, good grief. That is really special, man. I have not seen you in forever. I can't believe it. So super excited to have you on the show today. And another reminder, we got to catch up. I can't even pronounce that. So where's Greg tuning in from?
Oconomowoc.
Thank you very much for pronouncing that so I didn't have to embarrass myself. And Trevor, which part of Canada are you tuning in from?
I am about an hour west of Toronto. So, I'm in Brantford, Ontario, home of Wayne Gretzky.
That's absolutely right. And I'm joining you from the shores of Lake Erie. So Hey, listen, without further ado, I do want to start jumping into this. So, Trevor, you and I have worked pretty closely together through this. And what's kind of exciting about it is oftentimes when we look at software development, a lot of times it's kind of done in a vacuum, right? And I know that one of the things that really got me excited about how you approached this was that you worked with an MPS Insiders group, right? Working with actual dealers to kind of find out what kinds of things that they needed, what kinds of things they were missing, kind of et cetera. So really good job on that, and really excited to see some of the things that, if I can say, you honestly came up with, together as a group, and beautifully executed to get it to where the product is officially launched today. And I do have, just as a reminder, I do have that one slide that we're going to go through a little later. So you let me know when you're ready for that.
Sure.
And the first thing I want to talk about is, I'm going to pull this bullet up here. So give me a little background and kind of your experience before we start looking at each of the finite, sort of details of what's new about your experience over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so you framed it pretty well, West, in that started off, I reached out to you one day as I was consulting in the MPS space, and there weren't a lot of other options for PSA ERP applications for dealers, mid to small size dealers. And I reached out to you and said, hey, are you guys still trying to get into the managed print space? And you said, yes, of course we are. We were very successful in managed services, been doing it for 35 years, but had some gaps. And then you hooked me up with James Foxall, which was great. And then we started the conversation and said, okay, listen, I believe I can help you get in, but we have to be patient about it. And we have to do this properly. So James Foxall, Joel Vaslow, our COO, both agreed that that was the right approach. And we created the MPS Insiders Group to get feedback from the industry. So instead of us saying, here's what we think you need, dealers, we said, dealers, tell us what you need. What are you using now? What's working? There's applications out there that are working well in certain areas, and they have some gaps in other areas. So we wanted to determine what the gaps were, but also make sure that we had the things that were working well. And through that process, we spent about 6 months just gathering data, and then built the requirements, fed that back to the Insiders Group. Again, Jeff Bendix being one of them as part of that, got their feedback, and a number of other dealers, both in Canada and the US. And they said, okay, yes, we agree that this is if you came to market with this is something that would work for us. So that's how we started the process. Then was building requirements, then went to actually developing it. And that's, as you mentioned before, it's been a 2-year process.
It has.
And now we're at the point where we've got the things that people said they wanted and needed, so that we are able to go to market. We know that there's also still gaps. So this is one of our core values at Tigerpaw, is we are always evolving. So we also know we actually changed our release strategy not that long ago to releases every 2 months. So we actually know there's going to be misses. We're planning for misses. And that's why through our Insiders Group program, there are, incentives with respect to, licensing delays and things like that, knowing that, if you sign up now and you go live in 90 days, you might put your hand up and go, hey, here's the thing that you missed. We're like, great. We're not going to say that's bad news. That's great news. We have a release coming in 2 months. We have capacity for the MPS, call them MPS gaps, every 2 months, so that we can get that into the product. So continue to evolve. So we're excited about all of that. So that's how we got here from about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
That answers your question, West.
It absolutely does, and I love that. And what I really enjoy is the fact that you've actually turned the release schedules in the software to being almost continuous, right? Where that it's not big major releases, that these are going to be, stepping stones to go through all the way.
Yeah, a great example too, West, on that is we had actually in Guelph, Ontario here, a dealer who signed up for us a few months ago, exposed a gap in our ordering process, that because they had a different way of fulfilling, using their own drivers, sometimes using Synex at other times. And we exposed that gap, and we said, okay, we actually have that planned for our 22.2 release, which is the next one, obviously, which is coming out first week of July. So we're planning our go live with them after that, knowing that that's a gap that we had to fill.
I love it. And let's talk about what's here today. And one of the first things that I put down here was, maybe you can talk a little bit about the new integration hub.
Yeah, so one of the holes that we had, something that's that competitive products out there, they have integrations with their suppliers to automatically send POs, automatically get back ASNs. That's a gap that we had in the product. So we said, okay, we can go build all the same integrations one off, and that'll be great. It'll be a whole bunch of work, but we'll do all the same things. Instead of doing it that way, so Dan DeLuca, our head of development technology, he built an integration hub instead, so that it's much easier for us. So it's a layer outside of Tigerpaw. So we don't have to even wait even though they're only 2 months away every release, we don't have to wait for releases to add new integration partners. The hub itself is a platform that allows us to, so we've Supplies Network and Cinex and Ingram. And then if, Joe's, Reman Copier Shop has a way to integrate with our API, we say, here you go. We have an integration hub. We can build it easier. So we're way less limited in the partners that we can integrate with.
I love it. And I love this idea too, that this work can actually be done, long before releases, right? So pretty cool stuff. The next thing that we talked about was the automatic purchase order creation from service orders. So talk about that. Why is that important for dealers?
Yeah, so it's important for dealers because when we say service orders, there's two types of service orders. There are consumables and there are actual service orders. So we can integrate with any data collection agent. So we built our using actually our automation agent. We built it so that it can grab information from any tool. So we're not linked specifically to EKM or MPS Monitor or FM Audit or Print Fleet, but we can work with all of them. So we're not tied to any of them. And again, if it's Kyocera's own data collection agent, if it's Konicka's own data collection agent, we're able to grab service orders, pull them into Tigerpaw, or service alerts, supply alerts, whatever alerts we can pull out of the system, pull them into Tigerpaw to create service orders in Tigerpaw. And then from there, that process, the automation agent takes over, and we'll talk about the automation slide in a bit, where everything can take over from there. So you're going to hear everyone on this call. You're going to hear automation a lot because that is the theme of the last couple releases that we've come out with. So we're trying to have Tigerpaw become your best employee by taking away the tedious work and having them focus on more value-added steps in your business process.
Yeah, I love the slogan that we kind of throw around internally and in some of our marketing too, right? Which is work better, sleep better. And automation is how we all sleep better. So great to hear. The other note I want to throw in here before we go any further is what's really exciting about this is that the pedigree that Tigerpaw has in the other channels is really exciting. And to be able to add managed print to that, portfolio has been obviously a dream of both of ours for quite a while. So pretty excited to be able to help dealers and providers no matter what their offerings are. Let's talk a little bit next about automated purchase order processing. So walk us through that.
Sure. So this kind of just dovetails off of what we just talked about. So we're bringing in the alerts from your data collection agent or your RMM tool. So again, we're kind of focusing obviously on managed print here, but regardless of if you're in the business of providing service for your customers and they have a way to get information to you, Tigerpaw can take it from there. So in the managed print space specifically though, your toner alert comes in or your service alert comes in, or your technician's on site and needs parts that they don't have in their truck stock. So in Tigerpaw, that's again where the integration hub comes in. So now we can go and send that purchase order request right off to Cinex, Supplies Network, Ingram, whoever, Tech Data, whoever, and bring that ASN back. And then we have workflow alerts as well right in the system to let the technician know, here's the tracking number for that. It's going to be there tomorrow morning. They can reschedule their call and be more efficient that way. So, and again, the integration hub allows us to continue adding vendors to that model outside of our release schedule.
Well, very exciting. And that does lead us to something else because obviously generating orders is one thing and getting stuff out to customers is another. So let's talk a little bit about the advanced shipping notifications.
Yes, so I just sort of touched on that too. So that again comes back into getting that feedback back from the vendors, having it in Tigerpaw. Once the data is in Tigerpaw, so we've had acceptance that they've got the PO. Now we have the tracking number because we know they've shipped it. Our workflow engine, again, this is just part of Tigerpaw. It's not an additional module or anything. That can alert a manager internally. It can alert your customer service desk internally. It can alert the customer, the technician, whoever you want to know. Here's when it's here's when it's going to be delivered. Here's when it's been delivered. So we can do all of that in Tigerpaw so that again, things are happening without people touching the system.
I love it. And automation. Yes. And you said another important thing there too, which I think maybe a lot of the viewers don't know, is that how many pricing schematics are there for Tigerpaw? When you want some of these things, how much extra do you pay for these new functions?
So if you want any of the things we just talked about, advanced shipping notification, the integration hub, the anything else we're going to talk about, you pay zero. So we have one price and you get all of it. So when you add vendors, for example, there's another model out there where if you want to integrate, you have an integration with another vendor, you have to pay for each vendor that you have integration with. You have to pay for different modules. So the price that you get from Tigerpaw is the price that you get for everything that we're going to talk about today, and anything that we're going to add in the future from a product perspective. Again, it's one price. It's Tigerpaw 1 means Tigerpaw 1 price. So
I love it. And Jeff Bendix, thank you very much for the shout out. Yes, just like the classic song, getting better every day. Thank you very much. Let's talk about meters. This is something that in our world, obviously on the show, Ken and I actually help dealers in some cases to get away from meters. But of course, the lion's share of the Office Equipment channel still working on meters. They're not all flat rate. So talk to us about what you're doing here for the meter groups in Tigerpaw.
Yeah, so we really had to be very creative here and make sure we covered, again, this a lot of feedback came from the insiders group. So I learned a lot from I've managed dealers in the past, so I knew the meter groups that I used. There's black and white and color, obviously. And then you've got scan and you've got this and you've got that, and you've got tiered color with HP and with Xerox color cubes. So you've got a bunch of different options. We had to make sure we encompassed all of that. And now we've got flat rate, thanks to US for causing that noise. So we had to be able to handle flat rate. So we made sure that we could handle all possible options in under one contract, so that your customer is not getting multiple invoices, for the same thing. We include them on one contract, but also bucket them so that you can see them and make it variable. So if you want to see all of your, a certain meter group in one section of the contract, that's great. If you want to see one location with all of the multiple meter groups in that location, you can sort it that way. So we had to be very creative there. But again, it all came from feedback from the dealer community, so that we could make sure that we weren't missing anything.
Well, and as a flat rate enthusiast, it really gets me excited as well to be able to do the contracts this way, because a lot of customers actually have remote workers, let's say, and in some situations they've been doing a flat rate for those remote workers while still working with their central offices under some kind of complex meter groups, because that's the way they choose to do it. And at the end of the day, I want dealers to be able to have the freedom to be able to do what their customers want to do for them. So thank you for that. Yeah, and just before we move on from this one, Wes, too, I just want to note too. So it also allows you to easily add meter groups to selected items. So again, I've worked with systems in the past where it's kind of been one by one. So when we got a new contract, we get excited, except administrative team would be like, it's going to take me 2 days to enter this new contract. Yep. So you can select a number of devices and just say, add all of these to this meter group. Or again, if you have a price change next year and you change it, you go, it's a select all and then change the meter group. Or when you bring in, your DCA is running and you find new devices. So your data collection agent says, hey, by the way, here's 17 new HPs that are the same model they have on contract. I obviously want to add them to contract. I want to use the same meter group because they're the same model, same location. It'll actually suggest to you, do you want to add these to this meter group? And if your administrator just says yes, you start getting revenue the next day. I love it. And speaking of, things, when we start talking about these groups and complexity, one of the big complexities for office equipment dealers has always been related items, right? Getting them to work together. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that new functionality for mapping these related items. Yeah, so we actually added the related items functionality back in the previous release, so that you could map consumables and parts, to a model, for example. So here's the OEM toner cartridge, and here's the reman, but these are the only two consumables that are mapped to this model. So we added that. But then in this release, we actually added the import functionality so that you can do it in bulk, so that you can pull them in and go, okay, by the way, here's all the HP cartridges that go with these devices and models. Here's the reman cartridges, so that you can pull them in en masse. And then when you're processing,
that's when it tells you, so I need a consumable, I need a cartridge for this device. Here's my device ID that I got from the DCA. Here's my only two options. Here's your reman and here's your OEM. And you can have defaults in the system to always default to reman, for example. And if it's not in stock, then go to OEM.
I love that. And so it really makes sure that you have control, over that process, right?
Yes, and a lot of these things too, again, we're talking about automating a lot of things. It's putting in the business logic that are in people's heads. It's taking it out of the boardroom and off your whiteboard and putting it into the system so that every time a transaction happens, your corporate business rules are getting put in place. So we're saying always use reman and less use OEM. For this customer, always use OEM and less this. Our purchasing agent says always use for this customer, always use the cheapest option. This other customer, always use fastest delivery. So because we have a different SLA for them. So again, it's taking all the work that we do and we write down, we put into the system, let the system do it for you.
Work better, sleep better.
There you go. Right back to that.
I love it. Hey, the final point that I do have here for us to talk to today is about data retention for multiple meter contracts, because as we know, and I think, through COVID and stuff as well, that sometimes contracts get extended. Sometimes, we have to change the contract. And then, of course, this nightmare of having to say, oh, good grief, we've got to do this all over again. So maybe talk to that idea of data retention for these meter contracts.
Yeah, well, it allows you to, so we always want to, think about the future and going forward, but to make decisions going forward, we need to look at what's happened in the past. So, maintaining that data so that we can see for the multiple meter contracts, okay, so this device did this much volume. This device did that much volume. Actually shipped this much toner for that device. So we can look at those, and this isn't actually in this release, so it's a bit of precursor for the next release where we'll have our advanced profitability report that also includes consumable efficiency. So we can drill down to the device level to go pages shipped versus pages billed. So having this level of data allows us to do that piece of it. So again, when you're looking at your profitability and you go, hey, this customer's at 47 points of margin, great. This customer's at 22 points of margin. That's not great. I wonder why. Looks like from a labor perspective, we're on track, but consumable cost is too high. All right, I wonder why. These are the devices that you've shipped too many pages for. The yield in this cartridge is 15,000 and you build them for 12,000 and you ship them 30,000 because you ship them 2 cartridges and you only build them 12,000. Red flag, we need to do something about that. Again, allowing you to then take action and make your customers, because your customers they're not maliciously asking for more toner. They just don't know. If we give you the information as a dealer, you can then help them make better decisions too, because they don't want toner sitting on their shelves that they aren't using and paying for either. They want you to be as successful as they are.
I love it. And, it's so important because dealers typically, I mean, the way that we work in the office equipment channel is we don't want a contract for 3 years. We want it for 6 years, for 9 years, for 12 years, right? If we're doing our job properly, that's how it happens. So this data retention and this history is so absolutely critical. So happy to see that that's in there. Yeah. And for folks that are watching us today, there's actually a great interview that Trevor did with Carl Schell at Keypoint Intelligence. So you can reach out to me or Trevor to find out how you can get hold of that great podcast or learn more, about this as well. Of course, you can always visit tigerpaw.com. Once you get there, there are some great resources and you'll be able to learn more about what we're doing on the managed print side. But because managed print isn't everything, right? That's the other slogan we love to use around here is more than print. We're all doing more than print. There's some great resources there for you to learn what we're doing on that side as well. The other one I'll throw out there, and this is actually kind of exciting, is Trevor, I will see you in Chicago. I will see some of the team in Chicago at the BTA event. And for everyone that tuned in today, hopefully we'll see you there as well. We want to make sure you come by and talk to us a little more about what's going on here, right?
Yeah. Did we want to do sneak in the automation slide, Wes, do you think?
Oh, sure. Let's finish with that. Are you ready?
Yeah. So it's kind of encompasses all the stuff we've been talking about, and it's a nice visual way to sort of wrap it all together.
I love it. Well, here we go. See if I can do it properly.
All right.
I'm just going to change the view to the full presentation, and we're going to get rid of the banner here. All right. Take it away.
So again, this is typical of any managed service provider. Managed print obviously is in the forefront here, but anyone who's providing service. So the first step is you need to get some sort of input from your customer. So if you want to click, so you get some sort of service request that comes in from data collection agent, an RMM tool, our email connector, our customer portal. Someone says to you, one of your customers says, I need something. That comes in. So right now you might enter something into your system. Then the next step is to put it into the system. So you create an SO in Tigerpaw. We have templates for that can help automate that, but we'll walk through this. So now you've got a service order in the system. Now you're going to dispatch a tech. So we do have a dispatch board where you can manually go and say, I want this tech to go here, or it can be driven by business rules that will say this tech has these competencies, they work on these devices, and they have this geographic territory, and they're available. So tech gets on site, they may need parts. If they have them in their inventory, great. In their truck stock, great. If they don't, they have to order parts. They go onto their system, their mobile application, they order some parts. Next step, PO creation. If they don't have the parts in inventory, PO creation we talked about, that goes out for replenishment, driven by price and availability. So we talked about that. So then once the parts get delivered, you get the purchase order goes to the vendor, ASN comes back from the vendor. Next step, the parts are there. Technician can now consume the parts and close out the ticket. So on their mobile device, they've had to order the parts and they have had to close the call on their mobile device. After that, you're going to want to bill your customer. That may be transactional billing if it's a transactional service, or it could be part of contract invoicing where you want that cost allocated to the contract, but the invoicing goes out on a cycle. And then you're probably going to want to get paid. So then payment processing too. So your customers ask for something and you're going to want to get paid. This again could be transactional, could be transactions that are part of the contract. But the nice thing is through the new features that we've added in Tigerpaw that we just talked about, if you want to click the next one, West, the only time anyone has to really touch anything is if a tech has to order parts and when they close the call. We can't get around that. Someone is going out and physically doing something. They're going to touch something on their mobile screen. Other than that, Tigerpaw can handle all the rest of it automatically. So I love it. That's pretty exciting. And again, it's in managed print or in managed services. So we're really excited about that to just kind of let Tigerpaw sort of, you come in the morning, kind of hit the easy button and let it run your business. So
that's great. And I'm just going to remove this so we can get back and chat together. But what's really cool about that is watching just how simplified everything is. Most of it's automated and still having that flexibility for when people need to do things on the fly, right? Which is so critical because that can sometimes be a problem when things are too automated where they don't build in that flexibility for, that impromptu, we got to do this now. So really cool. And Greg is talking about implementation and conversion timeframe, 6 months, 12. And I know from working with the group internally, I love the it depends answer, right? So certainly for dealers out there, that's a question we'd love to answer with them, I think, on an individual basis, depending on, the size of their business, et cetera. We do have some dealers, obviously, that we can speak with as well that can take you through that. And so
just to answer Greg's question, our target is 60 to 90 days, though. So we do have a conversion utility from one of the main ERP providers out there in the managed print space. So that actually will help manage the data. So it will take everything from the, obviously your accounts and your price book items and your item, and equipment, but also contracts, start meter reads, meter groups and everything like that too. So we do have that conversion utility. So it becomes closer to 3 months than 6 months.
Great. I love it. And for everyone else that wants to learn about that, the best way to learn is to join us. So become a customer.
There you go.
Well, that's great. And hey, listen, just in respect for our time, we do keep the show to half an hour. So Trevor, I cannot thank you enough, not just for showing up today, but also for all the work that you've done in the last couple of years, making this real. We literally could not have done it without you. It's been really exciting and fun watching how you've taken it from vision and moved it into a reality. So thanks for all that you've done. And for everyone else out there in Flat Rate World Live, make sure you get in touch with me or Trevor to learn more. And we'll see you in Chicago live and in person in early June. So Until next time, everybody. Thanks, Greg. Great to see you on as always. And until next time, remember, keep it flat, keep it real. All right, everybody.
Thanks, Wes. Thanks, everyone.